afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the USF Softball Stadium and the 2018 American Athletic Conference Softball Championship. Today's second game will feature the ECU Pirates against the Houston Cougars. We would like to remind all fans that the American Athletic Conference and the University of South Florida encourages and promotes good sportsmanship by student athletes, coaches, and spectators. We request your cooperation by supporting the participants and officials in a positive manner. Profanity, racial or ethnic comments, or other intimidating actions directed at officials, student athletes, coaches, or team representatives will not be tolerated and are grounds for removal from the sign of competition. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the participants for Game 2. First, for the visiting ECU Pirates, the head coach in her third season, Courtney Oliver. Assistant coach, Jessica Hirschpool. Assistant coach, Molly Fittner. And graduate assistant manager, Emily Wyman. Now the non-starters for ECU. Number 1, Pearson Yup. Number 9, Whitney Sanford. Number 12, Morgan Halo. Number 13, Ashley Cruz. Number 15, Abigail Umflett. Number 21, Courtney Leighton. Number 22, Rebecca Perrell. And number 32, Logan Wood. And now the Pirates starting lineup. Leading off, a freshman, center fielder from Upland, California, number 66, Tyler King. Batting second, a freshman, shortstop from Riverside, California, number 26, Ashley Ine. Batting third, a senior, first baseman from Pikeville, North Carolina, number 14, Meredith Burrows. Batting fourth, a redshirt sophomore, the designated player from Windermere, Florida, number 8, Tate McLennan. Batting fifth, a redshirt senior, catching from Clayton, Delaware, number 7, Alex.
And we welcome you from Tampa, Florida. It's the American Softball Championships on the American Digital Network. It is coming up. It's the number 2 seed, the Houston Cougars, with a 35-19 overall record, taking on the number 7 seed, the East Carolina Pirates. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eric Lopez alongside Cindy Gerblack. This is our second game of the day. Earlier today, it was the number 6 seed, the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, knocking off Wichita State by a score of 3-1 to advance to the semifinals tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Tulsa will now await the winner of this game between Houston and East Carolina. And Cindy, of course, the Cougars have had a great year, and they've been led by the co-pitcher of the year, Savannah Hebner.
That's true, and Savannah Hebner has been a powerhouse for this Houston squad. What I love about her is that she has elevated her game from her freshman year. You didn't know exactly what you were going to get the first couple outings, depending on whether she was pitching on the first day of a weekend or a championship Sunday. But she's been consistent all year long, just like she was last year, and built on the prowess that she was able to build for her career thus far. So looking forward to good things for her in this postseason for Houston.
Of course, last year, Hebner beat East Carolina in the semifinals up in Greenville, and she'll be looking to now take on this young Pirates team today that comes in at 23-31. A very young team for Courtney Oliver, but they have a lot of power, especially led by their big bat, the senior, Meredith Burrows.
And Meredith Burrows is able to lead not only through her experience but through her bat, just as you said, an offensive powerhouse for this ECU squad. Coming into this game, she's batting .253, but where she really packs a punch is her 13 home runs. She regularly produces RBIs, has second to most RBIs for this ECU team on the season. So you know that she is continuously producing and setting the example, not only in the way she walks the walk, but in the way she talks the talk.
Of course, these two teams played in Greenville this past regular season. They opened conference play against each other March 23rd to the 25th, and Houston won 2 out of 3 in that series, but it was a wild series. East Carolina, as a matter of fact, won that first game of that series in 8 innings on a walk-off home run by Alex Michek, but Houston would come back to win the next 2 games, winning 10-7, and then, of course, really slugging it out offensively. Sarah Queen Cindy had a big series in that one, 5 for 6 with 6 RBIs, and that really jump-started her to having this great year where she finished in the first-team all-conference.
That's true, and Sarah Queen has been the offensive powerhouse for Houston. She leads the American in RBIs, runs scored. She's third best in the American in batting average, batting .421 in conference. Like you said, all-conference first team, so she is going to be somebody that not only has solidified her spot offensively in the lineup, but she's now a mainstay on the left side. She was out with injury in her freshman campaign, so been able to create an anchor for herself there at third base. And she makes a big difference when the Cougars need her in those clutch late-game situations.
They're introducing the lineups now. What's going to be some of the keys you're going to look for here early in the game here, starting with Houston and then East Carolina, as far as your thoughts on the keys as we this game develops?
Well, I will tell you that for Houston, they're going to need to capitalize on the lack of experience of the ECU Pirates, right? So they have a young team, and making sure that they are not giving up any free passes, not giving any extra outs on the opposite side of the line offensively to ECU, making sure that they're putting the ball on the ground and putting the ball in play and forcing them to make errors. For ECU, they're going to need to play loose. This is a scrappy ball club. Their brand of softball is that they can take a game from anybody on any given day, and they're looking to take it from Houston today. And then, again, they need to make sure that they don't give free passes, because Houston is the team in this conference to capitalize on free passes.
Savannah Hebner warming up, getting the ball here for the Cougars. 23-8 on the season with a 1.09 ERA, making her 28th start, winning co-pitcher of the year, sharing it with USF's Georgina Korick. She becomes the first Cougar to win pitcher of the year in the conference in 10 years, when the legendary Angel Shamblin, who was a 3-time Conference USA pitcher of the year in USA from 06 to 08 and was the All-American in 08, won those years. Hebner joins that company. And when you're being mentioned in the same sentence as Angel Shamblin, you've done something very well.
Absolutely. And, you know, what's great about Savannah Hebner, too, is that she's on her way to All-American status, right? She's a junior. She got all-region recognition last year. And she's putting up the numbers that make her a contender to be all-region again this year and to be an All-American by the time she's a senior. It would not surprise me in the event she continues to put up the numbers she does and continues to have the performances she does that she is an All-American by the time her career is up.
Tyler King, the center fielder for the Pirates, leading it off here on the 0-1 count, takes low for a ball. She'll be followed by Ashley Enai, the freshman shortstop, and then Meredith Burrows will hit third and play first base. Tate McClellan, another super talented kid, will be the DP hit cleanup. Alex Mychek at catcher will hit fifth as the 1-1 is fouled off down the left side. Ashley Weingartz, the right fielder, will hit sixth for ECU. Carly Smith at third base will bat seventh, with Kendra Zimba, the second baseman, will hit eighth, and Olivia Nairn at left field will hit ninth for the Pirates. The count is 1-2 as Hebner delivers, and King slaps it off Hebner's glove, and she'll be safe, and the ball kind of squirts out, but King will stay. Tricky play, was off the glove of Hebner, and then really not much Ariel James can do about it.
Well, and Ariel James is playing so far back on that ball anyway. I mean, it was just by the speed of the ball that was hit. I mean, that was just a great placement there. Not only showing great barrel control there from King, but there's not much you can do. She's able to just beat that out.
Now Ashley Enai takes ball one outside. Defensively, you mentioned Ariel James is at second base. Kelly Montgomery is at first base with Mariah Garcia at shortstop. Sarah Queen at third. Kaylin Crumpton at left field. Sarah Barker at center field. Maya Thomas at right field and of course the catcher Brooke Vanoy behind the plate. Is a strike now to Enai. And King and Enai are very important because they set the table for where the power of this East Carolina offense with Burrows, McClellan, and Mychek, who have combined for 30 of the East Carolina 36 home runs this year. As the 1-1. There's the bunt by Enai. It's a good one. Hebner will have one play. Will throw it up first with Montgomery covering. And it's a sacrifice bunt for Enai, advancing King to second base on the play with one out, and that'll bring up Meredith Burrows.
And that 1-2 punch with King and Enai, those two freshmen have been able to produce for ECU so far this year. There's a reason that they have gotten all 54 starts and played in all 54 games that the Pirates have contested in. And what's great about having the young freshmen that are performing is that you're able to have some.
Burrows hits a fly ball to left, and it's caught for the second out of the inning. As I feel like some fans here hold their breath there. Anytime Burrows is at the plate, she's capable of hitting it out of the park. But this time she hits one to Crumpton for the second out of the inning. That'll bring up Tate McClellan. But you were talking about the freshman.
Well, and two, I think that, Burrows obviously sets a great example and a great standard with, again, not only talking the talk but walking the walk. I mean, as a senior and one of the lone senior on this squad, she is going to be somebody that people are going to look to based on her experience. And so she's done a great job with this freshman class, making sure that they keep their head on straight because season can be a tumultuous time, and especially in your first collegiate season, being able to balance school and travel and softball.
Tate McClellan has a 1-1 count. McClellan, 275 on the year, 10 home runs, 33 RBIs. The 33 RBIs leads the team. And she swings and misses. They're ahead of that one, and the count is 1-2. McClellan, just a sophomore, down in the count here against Hebner.
And McClellan getting caught on an off-speed offering from Savannah Hebner. She can mix 3 speeds, so it will not surprise me that she will be able to.
They complete the strikeout by throwing to first, and the inning comes to an end. So Savannah Hebner works around the leadoff hit by Tyler King. No runs, a hit, no errors. And at the end of a half inning, it's East Carolina nothing. Houston coming to the plate here on the American Digital Network.
7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 21 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American.
Welcome into the ADN studio. Hope your week is off to a great start. Thanks for tuning in to an all-new episode of The Rise.
And Mike Hughes, the kicker to beat. Do you believe it? Kareem Bruton Jr. for the win. Yes! The American Conference Championship. Bernie scores.
The next biggest game is our biggest game, and we've been doing that all year.
A game like this, you got to want to win the game. We get to the point to where, okay, we're all scratching the itch, waiting for college football to start.
How impressive is it that both of these programs have been here the last 4 years?
This ball is launched out and beyond left field. Bohm gets around on this one, up the line, that's fair.
I couldn't be prouder. I mean, this conference has just performed beyond anyone's expectations.
Welcome back. Bottom of the first here in Game 2 of the American Softball Championships, Day 1. It's East Carolina and Houston, and Aaron Pepping, the freshman, gets the ball here for the Pirates. First pitch to Ariel James is a strike, and the count is 0-1. Pepping 13-15 on the year with a 3.38 ERA, part of this young staff for ECU and Courtney Oliver. As Pepping just a freshman on the 0-1. Missed there for a ball, and the count is 1-1.
And Pepping has shared the majority of, or has shared the innings thus far this season. She's appeared 41 times and started in 30 games for the Pirates. So she's definitely has the chops now to be and have the experience to make an impact for this Pirates program.
She gets James there to ground out to short for the first out of the inning. So Ariel James, who's hitting 363 and really triggers this Houston offense at the top of the order, grounds out. And that'll bring up Kaylin Crumpton, the senior, hitting 264 with 2 homers and 19 RBIs on the season. And a swing and a miss, and Crumpton down in the count, 0-1. The count for Crumpton, who knows how to get on base. She's ranks 8th in the country in getting hit by a pitch. 20 times she's been hit by a pitch. That's 8th in the NCAA, number 1 in the American Conference. And the 0-1 is a strike. In fact, Ariel James, who just grounded out, is 2nd in the conference getting hit by a pitch 15 times. Whatever it takes to get on, right?
Well, and to my point earlier in our broadcast, Eric, Houston really does master the art of capitalizing on free passes, right? They get hit a lot. They have stolen bases. They have walks. I mean, they are finding ways to get on base that are a little bit non-traditional, which is fine, and it works in their favor in order to create momentum. And Kaylin Crumpton is a perfect example of that. What's great about her as well is she's the spiritual leader for Houston. So when she gets on, she has such a celebration and plays with such a joy that her energy is contagious, and she's one of those energy catalysts that Houston feeds off of, and when she does well, the team follows suit.
The count is 1-2 to Kaylin Crumpton, the right-handed hitter against Pepping. And Crumpton lines the first, and the catch is made by Meredith Burrows for the second out here in the first inning. Nice job by Burrows. We talked a lot about her bat, but she just showed off her glove there at first.
And again, being able to play behind your pitcher, great reaction there by Burrows. That's what you've come to expect from a seasoned senior.
So 2 outs, and Savannah Hebner will step to the plate. She hits for herself and takes ball 1, hitting .315 on the year with a home run and 4 RBIs. This is another start for Hebner. In fact, this is her 32nd start as a hitter. Didn't hit much early in the year, but Coach Vesley kind of inserted her into the lineup recently, and it's paid off. She's a great athlete, and really has helped this Houston offense.
Oh, it's made a big difference. I mean, Savannah Hebner comes up in a clutch situation, and she is really good at using her length, right? So she turns on an inside pitch well, but she also has the length to get to an outside pitch and hit an outside pitch for power, which is why it's always great when she has runners in scoring position and she hits the ball at the middle or to the right side. Very good at the timely hitting and the situational hitting piece.
The count is 2-1 to Hebner, with no one on and 2 outs here in the bottom of the first inning. Glad you could join us wherever you are in the American Digital Network for day 1 of the American Softball Championships as Hebner swings and misses. The count is 2-2. This is our second of 4 games today. Coming up today at 4 o'clock, it's the number 4 seed, the UCF Knights, taking on the number 5 seed Memphis Tigers. That'll be followed by the top seeded USF Bulls against the UConn Huskies. That's around 6:30 for all the coverage here on the American Digital Network. It's the 2-2. Hebner takes inside for a ball, and the count is full, 3-2. And there you see Coach Vesley, then down at third base in her second season as the head coach. Of course, has been a part of the Houston staff since 2011. And has done a great job here. Of course, former Oklahoma All-American player. As Hebner swings and misses and strikes out on the off-speed pitch by Aaron Pepping. And Pepping, the young freshman, works a 1-2-3 first inning. So we're through 1 here in the American Softball Championships. No score between the Pirates and the Cougars.
7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 21 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American.
Welcome in to the ADN studio. Hope your week is off to a great start. Thanks for tuning in to an all-new episode of The Rise.
And Mike Hughes, the kicker to beat. Do you believe it? Kareem Bruton Jr. for the win. Yes! The American Conference Championship. Bernie scores.
The next biggest game is our biggest game, and we've been doing that all year.
A game like this, you got to want to win the game. We get to the point to where, okay, we're all scratching the itch, waiting for college football to start.
How impressive is it that both of these programs have been here the last 4 years?
This ball is launched out and beyond left field. Bohm gets around on this one, up the line, that's fair.
I couldn't be prouder. I mean, this conference has just performed beyond anyone's expectations.
Welcome back. Top of the second inning. Pirates and the Cougars here. Alex Mychek to lead it off against Savannah Hebner. And the first pitch to Mychek is a strike. Mychek hitting .226 with 7 homers, 15 RBIs on the season. It was Mychek who took Savannah Hebner deep in the bottom of the 8th in the opening game of the conference season back on March 23rd as Mychek swings and misses for a walk-off home run. as East Carolina won the first game of that series 3-2, but the Cougars came back to win the next 2 games to win the series 2 out of 3. The 0-2, low for a ball. Of course, these two teams played last year in the American Conference semifinals in Greenville, home of East Carolina, but it was Houston that came out on top thanks to Hebner to get to the American Conference softball championship game as Mychek fouls it off. Houston would go on to lose that championship game 1-0 in a great pitcher's duel between Hebner and Emily Watson, who earlier today showed why she was an All-American last year and the pitcher of the year last year with 13 strikeouts as Tulsa knocked off Wichita State 3-1 to advance to the semifinals and will await the winner of this game. As Hebner ahead 1-2 on Mychek. And again, Mychek fouls it off, but thoughts for those that missed it. Watson was fantastic and showed why Tulsa is a legitimate threat to three-peat as conference tournament champions in this week.
Well, and I think that Tulsa is being overlooked a little bit because they did not have the finish in conference play that they wanted. And what I want everybody to remember is that Tulsa is the type of team that regularly performs in a championship setting. They have they come in regularly, and whether or not they've had the best first couple of innings, like this is that's the type of team that can come in and create momentum, and it can only take one inning for them to win a ball game. Now, Watson, as you said, Eric, was able to show why she has earned all of the accolades that she's earned. She was dominant. She was throwing her best pitches and getting a lot of these really good Wichita State hitters out, and they just weren't making adjustments. And at the end of the day, Tulsa just played better softball, and they deserve to win. They
showed why they've been winning. They've won the last 2 conference tournament titles. As Mychek popped up to the shortstop, Mariah Garcia, and as you look at the replay here, Mychek just kind of reached for it, and Garcia just in a simple play to get the first out. That'll bring up Ashley Weingarts, will come to the plate. And Weingarts takes the first pitch. This is the 55th meeting all-time between Houston and East Carolina. Houston leads the all-time series 36-18, but they've had many memorable matchups through their history. As the 1-0 is grounded deep to short. Garcia's there, will throw to first in time to get Weingarts, grounding out 6-3 on the play. We mentioned last year they met in the semifinals in Greenville, the American Softball Championship. They played 10 years ago. As you look at the replay here, Garcia with the nice throw to first.
And Garcia and Queen have solidified themselves on that left side for Houston, and that was not how it always was for these past couple years. Like, they have had to really work on zhuzhing around what their infield looks like.
Carly Smith takes the ball right. She came in as a transfer last season, struggled at times defensively, but has been much more rock solid. It's helped the Houston defense much better on the left side.
And she's done a better job offensively. She's not hitting this game. She's had a little bit of a downturn with her offense, but she had a really good start to the season, so I know that she had some memorable at-bats and games that she performed in.
The 2-0. Strike. Talking about the history, I mentioned last year, Hebner hit a home run against East Carolina in the semifinal. And 10 years ago in Houston knocked off East Carolina in the semifinals. Angel Shamblin hit a home run in that game as Houston advanced to the championship game before they lost to UCF up in Houston. That was the year where Houston won 60 games and got to their first ever Super Regionals. These two programs played in the 2007 Conference USA Championship game in Orlando, won by the Cougs 1-0, as Hebner will throw to first to retire Carly Smith and the Pirates in order here in the second. No runs, no hits, no errors. We're still scoreless through an inning and a half on the American Digital Network.
7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 21 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American.
Welcome Welcome into the ADN studio. Hope your week is off to a great start. Thanks for tuning in to an all-new episode of The Rise.
And Mike Hughes, the kicker to beat. Do you believe it? Kareem Bruton Jr. for the win. Yes! The American Conference Championship. Bernie scores.
The next biggest game is our biggest game, and we've been doing that all year.
A game like this, you got to want to win the game. We get to the point to where, okay, we're all scratching the itch, waiting for college football to start.
How impressive is it that both of these programs have been here the last 4 years?
This ball is launched out and beyond left field. Bohm gets around on this one, up the line, that's fair.
I couldn't be prouder. I mean, this conference has just performed beyond anyone's expectations.
Bottom of the second here on the second quarterfinal game of the day. The Pirates and the Cougars scoreless. You see Sarah Queen will lead it off for the Cougars. She'll be followed by Tiara Williams and Sarah Barker. But what a year for the sophomore Sarah Queen, Sydney. 378 average, 10 homers, and 36 RBIs. You talked about her on the pregame, but this was a young player that didn't get a lot of playing time last year. Was more of maybe a pinch hitter role, and now she's become one of the main hitters in this offense.
That's true, and what happened with Sarah Queen was that she actually suffered an injury early in her freshman campaign to her shoulder, and so she wasn't performing because there was times, especially when she played defense, that she would hold back, and that's actually how she originally got hurt, was that she held back on a throw instead of finishing the play. We've seen her do it a couple times this year. But what's great about Sarah Queen is that she's solidified her spot in the lineup and then some, right? So she's been able to come in and make a difference and solidify herself in that 4 spot with all of the offensive power that she's been able to supply for this Houston squad. And she has been integral in the key home runs in some of their wins, and helping Houston with their power and creating momentum through that power. So that's been really key for Houston this year, especially since they've had to figure out when their offense was going to start firing, because they have a lot of firepower, but they were really struggling at the beginning of the season, scoring and throughout the game rather than waiting until the last minute.
2-2 the count to Sarah Queen here in the bottom of the second. And what was significant is they had to, who was going to replace the power that Shelby Miller brought to the team, was co-player of the year last year as Queen fouls it off. Shelby Miller was the co-player of the year in the conference last year, was the leader in home runs and RBIs, and that was going to be the big question. Who would provide that power? And it's been Queen that has really picked up right in that spot with the 10 homers and 36 RBIs, earning herself all-conference announced yesterday. As Queen on the 2-2 gets jammed and pops one into left, coming in and making the catch, though, quickly is the left fielder Naren for the first out of the inning. So Queen is retired for the first out here in the second inning, and that'll bring up Tiara Williams. Had a really good series against Memphis this past weekend, and she'll come to the plate. But you see Naren right here coming in.
And that's a really good read by Naren, right? That's not a well-hit ball. And on the left side, you're used to seeing balls hit a lot harder. It's usually on the right side that you see balls that are floating, that may be mishit, that may be spinning differently. So that's a really good read out there in left field by Naren.
Tiara Williams takes the strike, the freshman. Getting more playing time, as I mentioned, had a great series against Memphis. Didn't record an out during that weekend.
No, she did not. She was outstanding against Memphis, able to come in and put the Cougars ahead in a pinch hit opportunity with a grand slam. And that's actually the second pinch hit grand slam that she has hit this year. And she has been in and out of the lineup. She and Kelly Montgomery and Savannah Huebner actually have been judged around by this Houston coaching staff, trying to figure out what the perfect chemistry was for this lineup.
And Williams goes down on strikes as Pepping went upstairs and got her swinging for the strikeout. 2 outs here in the second inning. So Erin Pepping off to a good start, getting the strikeout.
And that's a beautiful rise ball there by Pepping. And in contrast to what we're seeing from Watson, Pepping's starts a little bit lower and gradually moves up, has a little bit more movement throughout the zone versus Watson's that bites late. And I love the contrast that we're seeing here, right? Because either of these teams is going to have to make that adjustment against Watson eventually.
Sarah Barker at the plate, grounds in the first pitch to first, right to Burrows, who touches the bag to end the inning. A 1-2-3 inning for the freshman Erin Pepping and the Pirates. And at the end of 2 here in Tampa, still no score between East Carolina and Houston.
When learning creates leaders, ideas are ignited, focus gets sharper, and service connects generations. We commit our expertise to heal, to discover, and to drive our region forward to a brighter tomorrow. East Carolina University. Tomorrow starts here.
Welcome back. You see, that's the head coach of the East Carolina Pirates, Courtney Oliver, in her 3rd season as head coach of the Pirates. Got a young ball club, of course, who came over from North Carolina State, where she was an assistant, coached Emily Wyman, and was part of the Wolfpack team that made it to the Super Regionals in 2015, was a great player at Hofstra. She played under Bill Edwards and Larissa Anderson. The first pitch is grounded to third, and the throw to first is in time as Kendra Zimba is retired on 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 3rd inning, so quick out for Hebner. But Courtney Oliver, talking to the Pirates, this freshman class that's playing right now was a top 30 recruiting class last year from many of the nation publications that cover recruiting in college softball. So they feel they've got their young talent starting to come in, and now the freshmen and then next year's freshman class, those are going to be the players that Courtney Oliver is bringing in and bringing some more talent and athletes to the Pirates.
Absolutely, and you can already see the difference that it's made. Look at Pepping, look at King, look at Inai. Like, there are so many examples already in this squad. Sure, they may not have had the season that they wanted, but they've been able to take some really key wins from some really good teams. And the fact that they beat the conference champions, they're the only ones that were able to take 2 away from USF. I mean, there's something to be said for a team like that. Sure, they may need to nail down the consistency piece, but you can't tell me they don't have the skill.
2 balls and a strike to count as Nairn fouls it off. You mentioned they took 2 out of 3 from USF a couple weeks ago in Greenville. They've really been playing well the second half of the season. They had a long trip in Hawaii. They beat James Madison, who was, of course, the Colonial Champions, top 25 team in the country. I'm sure that had to please Coach Oliver for many reasons, being a former Hofstra pride. That's a big rivalry up there, Hofstra and JMU. But that kind of turned their season around. Here's a little tapper to short. Garcia hurries, throws to first in time to get Nairn. 6-3 on the ground out. But she's starting to build this program, getting back to what it was. East Carolina was always a perennial NCAA tournament team under Tracy Key, with Tony Paisley, the star pitcher, and Kelly Harold. As you see the replay there, Garcia, boy, you mentioned it. She is so much more improved at shortstop. I don't know, from this year to last year, it's amazing.
She's just more comfortable. It makes a huge difference. And
Hebner's comfortable there as well.
There
she
she
fielded
is.
her own position to end it. We are through 2.5 here in Tampa. No score between the Pirates and the Cougars here on the American Digital Network.
7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 21 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American.
Welcome in to the ADN studio. Hope your week is off to a great start. Thanks for tuning in to an all-new episode of The Rise.
And Mike Hughes, the kicker to beat. Do you believe it? Kareem Bruton Jr. for the win. Yes! The American Conference Championship. Bernie scores.
The next biggest game is our biggest game, and we've been doing that all year.
A game like this, you got to want to win the game. We get to the point to where, okay, we're all scratching the itch, waiting for college football to start.
How impressive is it that both of these programs have been here the last 4 years?
This ball is launched out and beyond left field. Bohm gets around on this one, up the line, that's fair.
I couldn't be prouder. I mean, this conference has just performed beyond anyone's expectations.
Welcome back. You're looking at Kristen Vesley in her second season as the head coach of the University of Houston. What a job she's done. She's been a part of the staff for a while. Of course, was the assistant under Kyla Hollis prior, but has really kind of re-energized this Cougar program. What a great year. 35 wins, wins over Baylor, wins over Texas, wins over Ole Miss. But, Sydney, I don't have to tell you, when you beat your in-state teams like Baylor and you beat Texas, that's a big one for the fan bases, and that's really helped Coach Vesley. And really, this Cougar team that used to be a perennial NCAA tournament team kind of hit the skids a little bit, but now they're back in the mix. Really should be an NCAA tournament team regardless of what happens this week.
That's true, and Kristen Vesley has been there throughout the evolution of this program, right? So she was able to come in as an assistant coach, elevate herself to associate head. Now she's head coach. She's the head honcho over there in Houston. And, you know, Houston was dethroned this year as leading the American Athletic Conference in a lot of offensive categories by Wichita State. But great for Wichita State because that elevates the entire game of the conference and the level of play that we're getting in from weekend to weekend during conference.
Montgomery strikes out looking there as Pepping gets the strikeout for the first out here in the third inning.
And, I mean, it's tough to, and Montgomery obviously knows that pitch is right underneath her hands, right exactly where it needs to be. I mean, there's not much that she can do there. She needs to be able to take a hack.
Brooke Vanoy will come to the plate. She'll hit with no one on and one out. And Vanoy, the right-hand hitter, swings at the first pitch, grounds it to short. Enai is there, will throw to first in time. And Vanoy grounds out 6-3, and there's quickly 2 outs. And that'll bring up Maya Thomas to the plate. But I want to expand on what you just brought up a minute ago. The elevation of play. You mentioned Wichita State's offense helped elevate the league. That's one of the main reasons, one of many reasons, this league right now this year is the 4th strongest conference in college softball. The competition level is up, and Houston rising back to the top. I know they had the run last year, but even Coach Vesley, in talking to her, last year was a learning experience. As Thomas bunts, Barrows throws to first in time. Nice job by Barrows to get Thomas to end the inning. We are through 3 here in Tampa, still scoreless on the American Digital Network.
When learning creates leaders, ideas are ignited, focus gets sharper, and service connects generations. We commit our expertise to heal, to discover, and to drive our region forward to a brighter tomorrow. East Carolina University. Tomorrow starts here.
Welcome back. Top of the 4th inning here at the University of South Florida campus at the USF Softball Stadium. No score between the Cougars and the Pirates. Savannah Huebner, the co-pitcher of the year, alongside Georgina Korick of USF. And we were talking in the last half inning, Sydney, about the elevation of this conference and players like Savannah Huebner, a year older, more confident, raising their game to a different level is one of the many reasons this league is the 4th strongest conference in college softball and is expected and hoped to have a 4 to 5 bid league into the NCAA tournament. It's one of the top power conferences because programs like Houston raising their level and their coach Vesley. You got East Carolina with young talent coming in. It's a great exposure for the league, and people are taking notice that these teams are beating teams outside the conference as Ashley Enai takes a strike and the count is 0-2.
Well, and I think, too, ECU has an incredible advantage here, right? So they're a young team at a perfect time. They're coming up. They're getting the reps while they have a little bit of a younger squad against teams that are really good. But when those kids become juniors and seniors, they're going to have gone up against some of the best players in the country. And that's going to be a major difference maker once they have that experience under their belt for what their performances are going to look like in their later years of their careers.
Enai drops a base hit into right field. And a leadoff single for East Carolina provided by Ashley Enai here in the Pirate inning here in the 4th.
And Enai, again, she's going to be one of those contributors for this ECU squad. She's young, she's a freshman, and she's able to take that ball and drive it through the 3-4 hole, no problem.
She's one of those freshmen that was a top 30 nationally recruited class that's making an impact this year. And you're seeing that across the league as well as Burrows comes to the plate, swings to the first pitch, line off the glove of Montgomery, right to James, who'll throw to first in time. What a play there by James to stay with the play. If Montgomery comes up with that ball, it's a double play, but she couldn't hold on to it. Enai's at second.
A lot of chaos in that play. Hard hit ball down to Kelly Montgomery. She's not able to make anything happen with it, but great composure from both players on the right side, making sure they get at least one out. Best and worst case scenario, one out.
One out. McClellan will come to the plate. But you talk about some of the recruiting classes. UCF, who we'll see later at 4 o'clock, they only have 2 seniors on their roster. They got a top 25 national recruiting class coming in for next season. So they got more players coming in. They're going to be a team. Of course, they've beaten Florida this year, the SEC champions. As McClellan drops a base hit into right field. They will send Enai. The throw home is cut off, and the East Carolina Pirates take an early 1-0 lead on the RBI hit by Tate McClellan. Good piece of hitting by McClellan, going with the pitch, and gives the Pirates the lead.
And you've seen 3 players do that in a row now, right? They're choosing that outside pitch. Maya Thomas, not aware of where her runner is there. She needs to be a little bit more aware of whether her runner is going to be on second, what their speed is. I mean, it should be no surprise at this point. She played against ECU for 3 games prior to this matchup.
Alex Mychek at the plate, swings and fouls it off. And I've noticed here, Pirates much more aggressive here against Hebner in the last inning here, swinging aggressively in the first pitch or 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it makes a big difference, too, with Savannah Hebner. She's, again, similar to the way that Wichita State needed to let Emily Watson come to them. ECU is doing a great job right now of capitalizing on Hebner's power. They don't need to do too much. They're choosing an outside pitch, which allows them to see the ball the longest on any pitch they're going to see. They're squaring it up, having some great barrel control, knowing exactly where they need to put their bat in order to be successful. And, seeing it consistently at bat after at bat after at bat means that they're committing to a game plan, and it's working for them. And so you just have to tip your hat because that's great softball.
And a good start for a young team. You don't know how they would respond. Sometimes they had a tough weekend in Orlando to end their regular season, was swept by UCF. They bust, actually, after that series straight to here, and you wondered how they would react. But they've gotten off to a good start, and they have an early 1-0 lead. As they got a pinch hitter, a pinch runner will be at first base. And Alex Mychek will come to the plate. But it tells you about this league. And, I did some interviews, nationally, radio interviews, and people were asking me about this league, about what do you think? And I said this, and people, it sounds cliche, but seeds don't matter in this tournament. Everybody's good. Everybody's capable of winning games. We've talked about East Carolina. They've beaten James Madison, who ended up winning the Colonial Conference, their top 25 team. UConn, who finished in 8th, beat Texas A&M in College Station. They're a top 10 team in the country. You know how tough it is to win at College Station. Everybody has wins. Tulsa, everybody's top to bottom. It's good. It's a power conference. And on any given day, anybody can beat anybody. So nobody should be really that surprised that East Carolina here is putting right now off to a good start as the 1-2. Mychek held their swing, especially in the regular season series. East Carolina won the first game 3-2 in 8 innings. And then the second game, Houston had a big 8-0 lead and had held on to a 10-7 win. So these two teams battle, and it's a lengthy rivalry as Mychek swings and misses on the off-speed pitch for Hebner for the second out here in the 4th inning. And that'll bring up Weingarts. But I mentioned, this is the 55th meeting between these two programs. As you look here, great pitch here by Hebner to get my check. But they've played for conference championships in multiple leagues, and the players are aware. They sense that. They know the history here, the two programs. They know each other. They've had many battles, great players over the years. So as a player, hey, we know what the history is. This, it's Houston and East Carolina. Things happen.
Absolutely, and there's a couple things at play here, right? So you have the elevation of the talent and the style of play in this conference. That's one thing. The second thing, from a student athlete perspective, if you're coming into a conference tournament, especially at this time in the season, and you're expecting to show up and win, that's naive. And frankly, it's disrespectful to your opponent who's put in just as many hours of work to hone in on their craft, whatever their role is on the field. And so every team, especially in a conference like this, you have to show up and be ready to play and execute moment to moment. And again, both of these teams capitalize on any sort of mistakes. This brand of ECU softball is evolving, but one thing that they've always been able to do is be incredibly scrappy. They know what they want, and they have a plan to get it, whether or not it looks pretty.
And that's a hit to left field by Weingarts to extend the inning, as East Carolina now has runners at first and second with 2 outs. Here in the top of the fourth, they already lead 1-0 on the RBI single by Tate McClellan, and now they have 2 on and 2 out for Carly Smith. And I know, Houston obviously is coming off a great momentum. They swept Memphis at home. East Carolina got swept by UCF. Sometimes you wonder if certain players maybe let their guard down a little bit. But I know in talking to the Houston people, they know that East Carolina was going to come out with their best game. And for East Carolina, it's a new season, right? What do you got to lose? No pressure.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, too, you're seeing that East Carolina, regardless of who they're playing against, they're not afraid to make adjustments. They're not afraid to go out swinging. They're swinging similarly to the way that I think I would have seen Wichita State swing against Emily Watson. And here's the thing, Savannah Hebner, she is throwing well. They're just hitting her well. And so her adjustment needs to be, if that outside pitch is going to be one that they swing at, she needs to bring it down maybe 3 or 4 inches so that it's close enough to be a strike and it's out of their reach, because we've seen that consistent outside corner spot right at the belt get hammered by this ECU team, and they're going to continue to hammer it and get more and more confident, and that's what you don't want if you're on the Houston side.
The 0-2 by Smith is fouled off, and the count remains 0-2. And for the Pirates, for Courtney Oliver, nothing new to be the underdog. 2 years ago in Tulsa, they were the 6th seed and lost a 1-0 game to Tulsa at Tulsa. As the 0-2 is a slow grounder to third. Queen cover it off, throw to first in time to get Smith and retire the side. But the Pirates get on the board on an RBI single by Tate McClellan. And at the end of 3 1/2, it's ECU 1-0 on the American Digital Network.
People say University of Tulsa, a top 50 private institution. Well, what is big?
This is big.
It's an energy, an opportunity. So go on, dream big, because big is just the beginning.
I got it.
Bottom of the fourth here in Tampa, Florida. It is East Carolina 1, Houston 0. On the RBI single by Tate McClellan in the top of the fourth. And for the Cougars, it'll be the top of the order. Ariel James, Kaylin Crumpton, and Savannah Hebner trying to see if they could solve Aaron Pepping, who has retired the first 9 Cougars in this ballgame and has a 1-run lead to work with all of a sudden. So you wonder sometimes, it's a freshman in Pepping, how would they respond in a situation like this? And so far, so good for the Pirates, as Pepping's been very rock solid.
Well, and what's great with Pepping is that she not only has a great presence on the mound, and she's not only held the Cougars runless, but she's held them hitless. So she's been able to work her pitches, and she's hit her spot. She's been very precise with where she's put her pitches, both on the inside and outside corner of the plate. And she's wielded her off-speed pitches in a way that it makes it, she throws them often enough to where it's in the back of your mind as a hitter, but not often enough to where you'd be able to see it and time it at bat to at bat. So if I'm on deck, for example, if I'm Kaylin Crumpton right now and Ariel James doesn't necessarily see a changeup and I see one, that is a great strategy that Pepping has been able to employ throughout these past 4 innings.
Ariel James to start it off here for Houston, hitting .363 on the season. Ahead in the count here against Aaron Pepping, trying to jumpstart this Cougar offense. And she swings and pops one into right, but playable as the catch is made for the first out as Weingarts is there. And James, who is so good at getting on base, .483 on base on the year, is now 0 for 2.
And she's choosing good pitches. Her timing's off. And that's one of the things, too, is that you have to make sure as a hitter, great hitters do 3 things well. Let's back up. They swing at strikes, and they have great timing. And if you don't have good timing, regardless of what the speed is or what the other pitcher is throwing, you are not going to be successful as a hitter. You might get lucky, but you're not going to be consistently successful. Ariel James has great timing the majority of the time. Would not surprise me if she's successful in her third at bat.
Kaylin Crumpton at the plate, the senior, steps in with no one on and 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th. ECU with a 1-0 lead. Again, the winner of this game will take on Tulsa tomorrow in the semis at 2 o'clock. We'll have it for you here on the American Digital Network. We have 2 games later today at 4 o'clock, the UCF Knights against the 5-seed Memphis Tigers, and that'll be followed by the 1-seed, the USF Bulls. The host team taking on the 8-seed, the UConn Huskies. The 0-2 reaching for there is Crumpton and fouls it off. And, of course, these 2 teams battling, trying to advance in the postseason. Of course, the champion here this week gets the automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. The championship game will be at noon Eastern here on Saturday. 0-2 the count as Crumpton against Pepping, and Crumpton takes low. And Houston, of course, trying to get back to that championship game where they were a year ago. As Houston got within 1 run, they lost a 1-0 game against Tulsa, the veteran Tulsa team. Great pitched game. But the Cougars fell 1 run short, and I know that's been a part of their motivation, learning from that experience and growing and learning how to win into this year as Crumpton fouls it off. So I can't imagine they're certainly not going to be phased trailing here early. They've played in these conference tournament games and can use the success that they had last year.
That's true, and one of the things that Houston has had to overcome this year is they have, as an offense, have not been able to get the bats going until later in the game. And as you and I both know, Eric, you can't always win it in the final hour. Sometimes you have to be consistently chipping away in order to create or get rid of a deficit or create a deficit on the other side.
And Crumpton gets the Cougars' first base runner on with a base hit. A single here with 1 out in the 4th inning. So the senior Crumpton gets the Cougars' first hit of the ball game here in the 4th.
And a beautiful piece of hitting there by Kaylin Crumpton capitalizes on a Pepping mistake, and she's able to drive that ball into the gap on the left side.
So a 1-out single, and that'll bring up Hebner as Mike Check will now talk to the young freshman Pepping. And what an advantage for a young freshman like Pepping to have a veteran catcher like ECU has in Alex Mychek, who has been through these battles and knows the game very well. That's got to be a huge plus to have a veteran catcher that can calm you, knows the situation, can calm a young pitcher down. And I think that's part of it, right? I think it's kind of, hey, don't worry about it. You're throwing your game. Don't let that hit bother you.
Well, and such a major factor in softball is that relationship of the battery, right? So a catcher has to have a very good indication of where her pitcher's at emotionally at any given time. Is she in the zone? Do I need to walk out there and tell her, hey, let it go, or do I need to, give her a little bit of tough love and a little kick in the butt and make sure that she's in the right mindset? That's what the catcher's for. And sometimes as a pitcher, you need to have somebody there to hold you accountable. And sometimes you need someone there that reminds you that they have your back.
2-0 the count to Savannah Hebner. Runner at first in Crumpton. 1 out. ECU with a 1-0 lead over Houston here in the bottom of the 4th. And Pepe now with a little bit of trouble for the first time. Delivers. And the count is 3-0. And at times the Pirates have had trouble with their control. In fact, on Saturday in their loss against UCF as a staff, they walked 12 UCF night hitters. And with a young staff, Sydney, that happens sometimes where you just lose confidence. Sometimes you get hit a couple times and you get conservative when it comes to throwing the ball into the strike zone because you're worried about getting hit. And there's a 4-pitch walk to Hebner, and the Cougars have 2 on, 1 out.
Well, and we talk so often in sports in general about reacting versus responding. And this is a perfect example, right? Pepping has to be diligent here about what her response is when she gives up a hit. Is it a big deal if she gives up the hit and then she comes back and focuses on what she's throwing well, hits her spots, and focuses pitch to pitch? No. Most likely, she'll be able to get out of the inning. No harm, no foul. But often what happens with a young pitcher is that sometimes they get in their own head and the wheels tend to fall off the cart. Well, that can't happen, especially in this postseason setting. So it's going to be important for Pepping to be able to say either to her team and to herself, hey, I'm going to get it together. Whatever it is that I need to do to be more precise with my pitches, I'm going to do it, and we're going to work together and get out of this inning. No harm, no foul. Cougars still haven't scored yet. They still have to push one across the plate.
That's part of the meeting. Plus, too, you got to make sure you're on the same page with Sarah Queen coming to the plate in Houston's doubleheader win over ECU. They had to play a doubleheader due to weather. Houston won both games. Sarah Queen went 5 for 6 in that doubleheader with 6 RBIs, which really jump-started her into ending up being an all-conference player, all-conference season. And she's going to hit with 2 on and 1 out here. Although Coach Vesley's going to go to the pinch runner here, Sydney, as they're going to pinch run for Crumpton. And
it'll be Lindsay Stewart.
Lindsay Stewart, thank you. You know, they got those nice all-white jerseys.
I know, it's a little bit hard to distinguish the numbers.
See, I'm glad you said that. You said that. Pirates in their traditional yellow gold tops, purple pants. So Stewart is at second base with Hebner at first. And Queen, the right-handed hitter, at the plate. And the first pitch is a ball. And it's interesting. I've asked Coach Vesley, because Hebner's at first. Some coaches like to pinch run for their pitchers so they can get a break and come back, focus on the next inning. But Coach Vesley told me that Hebner's the type of player that likes to be in the game, likes to be in every situation.
She does, and she really is Hebner is a softball smart kid, right? So you have the intelligence off of the field, and then you have somebody that just has an innate sense of where to go, what to do, where to be in sports. And Savannah Hebner has that, and she has it all across the board, whether she's pitching, base running, hitting, and she's played a lot of first base for this program as well. So another all-around athletic pitcher that brings a lot to the table, and yes, is more comfortable being in the thick of it than she is sitting on the bench.
2 balls and a strike to count to Sarah Queen. 2 on, 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th. Pepping delivers, swing and a miss by Queen, and the count is 2-2. And, you know, Houston has had a history of having pitchers that can hit. Angel Shamblin, we've talked about, was a great hitter, was a two-way player as well, among many others. As the 2-2, and Queen gets jammed and pops it up. It'll be Weingart's at right field, makes the catch. Stewart tags from second, goes to third. The throw is not handled. And it'll be second and third as Hebner took the base. That was a pretty good throw by Weingart's. But unfortunately for the Pirates, they could not handle their Carly Smith to play.
And that's a really good piece of base running by Lindsay Stewart. It doesn't look like that ball should have been knocked out of her glove. I'm not exactly sure what happened.
Well, I'll tell you, and I just saw the umpire in the replay, James Connors, put the sign for obstruction. So I think even if the tag would have been made, I think he was going to call obstruction. And the rule is you can't interfere and block the plate. Obstruction. So I think so Stewart was going to be called safe anyway. The big thing is Hebner was smart enough, took second base on the throw to third.
Trail runner has to do what the lead runner does.
Williams hits it foul down to left field. So Tiara Williams now at second and third. Now in Weingart, she made a good throw. That was a very good throw. It was a bang-bang play. But Hebner did the right thing moving the second. So now Houston has runners at second and third with 2 outs. And Tiara Williams, the freshman, at the plate with a count of 0-1 against Aaron Pepping here as the Cougars threatening for the first time today here in the bottom of the 4th, trailing 1-0. And Pepping on the 0-1 is outside for a ball, 1-1 to count. Stewart is at third. Huebner at second.
Tiara Williams is one of those players that doesn't play like a freshman, right? So she's come in and she's made an impact. For the first third of the season, had a starting spot over there at first base, then struggled a little bit hitting.
That ball is hit to deep left field. It's going, it's going, it's gone! See ya! A 3-run homer for the freshman Tiara Williams. Gives the Cougars a 3-1 lead as they shock the Pirates. And as you said it, Sydney, she doesn't play like a freshman, and that was not a freshman swing.
Well, that just goes to show you what happens when you have great timing and you capitalize when runners are in scoring position, right? Tiara Williams, we know that she has that home run power, but what I love most about her is that she steps up in the pressure-filled situation. You put her in a pressure cooker and she's going to perform.
Her third home run of the season for Tiara Williams. What a time, what a swing to left field. And the Cougars have responded after falling behind 1-0. They now lead 3-1. That's a grounder off the glove of Burrows. That's a fair ball as Barker will take second base. That ball kind of took a wicked hop, and Burrows couldn't handle it, and the momentum right now has shifted drastically to the Cougar dugout as Houston right now with all the momentum.
And a great player to play off that momentum is Sarah Barker. She actually got injured at a time when her bat was heating up, and she was heating up offensively. She's now, you can see the outline in her uniform. She's wearing a knee brace, had a little bit of a weird slide in conference, or in a midweek game, excuse me, and has since recovered. And again, another kid that really feeds off of her teammates' momentum.
Montgomery grounds it to second. Enai is there. Will throw to first to end the inning. But the Cougars' offense explodes for 3 runs on 3 hits. A 3-run homer by Tiara Williams gives the Cougars a 3-1 lead through 4 here on the American Digital Network's coverage of the American Softball Championship.
When learning creates leaders, ideas are ignited, focus gets sharper, and service connects generations. We commit our expertise to heal, to discover, and to drive our region forward to a brighter tomorrow. East Carolina University. Tomorrow starts here.
As Kendra Zimba will lead it off here for the Pirates is Tiara Williams, the young freshman with a 3-run homer out of Humboldt, Texas, which you were just telling me off the air, Sydney. What is that, right around across the street from Houston, basically?
It's about an hour outside of the city. So pretty much a hometown kid, any way you want to look at it. And there's a lot of talent in that Houston area. I know that it's a major recruiting spot for conferences and schools all over the country just because of the athletic talent that comes out of the city.
Well, and that's something that Coach Vesely has made a big thing when she took over as head coach, is to keep those players in town and come to Houston. She was on the podcast, fastpitchnews.com, In the Circle podcast, National Softball podcast, and talked about that at length, how important it is to kind of build a fence there and have those Houston players stay in and play at Houston. You mentioned there's so much talent in that state. And I think that's what she's trying to work on. And boy, if you get kids like Tiara Williams, you're off to a good start.
Well, a coach like Vesely too, like she's going to see it from multiple angles, right? She's not only going to see it from the keeping the talent at home and to benefit her program, but she also knows as a kid that Vesley grew up in Arizona, so she went to school in Oklahoma. She knows what it's like to have parents that travel to and from your games, and making it easier to have the familial support with an hour, 20 minutes drive away. That makes a big difference in supporting the student athletes transition from home to college.
2-2 the count to Zimba as Hebner delivers low for ball 3. Of course, you mentioned Kristen Vesley was an All-American player at Oklahoma. I believe still one of the all-time hits leaders in Sooner softball history. Of course, her mentor, Patty Gasso, of course, the head coach of the 2-time defending national champion Oklahoma Sooners. As the count is 3-2, and Zimba lines one off the glove of Hebner, and she will beat it out for an infield hit. A good start for the Pirates here in the top of the 5th as Kendra Zimba hit a bullet right there that Hebner could not handle.
And I've seen so often when Hebner has been able to catch that ball, just catches her off guard right there, and that's a great piece of hitting from Zimba, and you just have to tip your hat and move on. Again, about the responding versus reactioning piece we talked about earlier in the broadcast. This is when that's going to be really relevant.
It'll be interesting to see how this young Pirates team responds with Naren at the plate. Showed bunt, Polt takes a strike, and the count is 0-1. With, of course, Zimba, who has 6 steals on the year, 6 for 9 on the season, is at first base. And then, of course, for the Pirates, they're just trying to get some base runners on. They know that the power lineup's coming up soon. And again, a bunt attempt unable to be accomplished there by Naren, the sophomore. And now Naren's down 0-2 and probably takes away the bunt play now in this situation. As Hebner on the 0-2. A tapper for Naren, and it's foul. And it's important. You got Naren in the 9 spot. Then you've got King and Enai before Barrows comes to the plate. And if you're Hebner, is that in the back of your mind, you wonder? She knows the batting order, and she knows when specific hitters, and I think all pitchers do, when those specific hitters that they know they have to deal with, they know where they're in the lineup. And I think puts it even more importance in getting hitters like Naren. And they say she went around as they appealed, and they said yes, that Naren went around for the strikeout, and that's a first out here in the 5th.
And that's a really good selling point there by Brooke Vanoy, making sure that she is lobbying for her pitcher at any given moment. Let's go ahead and take a look at that actually crossed the plane. It looks like it might have.
Well, and I think they were saying, did she go around?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then Brooke Vanoy was able to sell that to the umpire down the third base line.
It doesn't hurt you to ask, right?
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Tyler King to the plate. The freshman will step in now with a 1-0 count. Runner at first, 1 out here in the 5th. As Hebner delivers and a swing and a fouled off by King. And again, just mentioning right now, Savannah Hebner, the co-pitcher of the year. Only the 2nd Houston pitcher in the history of this program to win pitcher of the year in the conference. Angel Shamblin won it 3 times during her run at Conference USA. From 06 to 08, she was the first All-American pitcher. And still the only All-American pitcher in the history of the program. Will probably be the first Houston softball player to be inducted into the Houston Hall of Fame when that resumes. As the 2-1 is a strike. To put it in perspective, Hebner coming into today is tied for 2nd all-time in wins with 48 with Bailey Watts from 2010 to 2013. Angel Shamblin holds the school record with 94. 2-2.
Well, and it just goes to show you, I mean, how dominant Houston pitching has been over the years. Bailey Watts didn't play her senior year. She stepped off of the field as a junior and opted not to play that last year. And so the fact that Hebner is just now coming up on those wins, she even has another year that she can contribute to her statistics.
And King contributes with a hit there to the left side. And the Pirates now have 2 on and 1 out. For Enai will come to the plate as Vanoy is going to have a word with Hebner.
And just a great piece of hitting there, capitalizing on an outside pitch, letting Hebner supply the power. I love the bat speed that we're getting from King, making sure that she's not necessarily doing anything different with her style of play. But also not doing too much as well.
You can see why she was part of that highly recruited class from the Pirates. She's up from the Upland, California, is Tyler King, and she's at first base. 2 on, 1 out with Ashley Enai, left-handed hitter at the plate. She swings and misses, and we know that Burroughs is on deck, so this is a very important sequence here. But to finish your thought, isn't that what really Houston softball, for all the offensive talk, and they've had great offensive players like Haley Uten, was one of the best players ever in that program, maybe the best offensive player in the history of that program. When Houston was a perennial NCAA tournament team, they had power pitching. Angel Shamblin, I mentioned, led them to the Super Regionals in 2008. Amanda Crabtree led them with Super Regionals in 2011.
And she would not have been as successful if she had not been partnered with Donna Bourgeois. They were a 1-2 punch in the circle for Houston.
The 1-1 to Enai. That's a strike, and the count is 1-2. You mentioned Bailey Watts. She was a part of some of those tournament teams in 2012. So that's part of it, and they're getting back to that with Hebner, and I know they got a young staff, and that's a big part of the Houston turnaround.
Well, and the same thing with ECU, too. I mean, you noted earlier Tony Paisley, like an incredible competitor, and led ECU to conference championships, they were tournament champions. Remember, they beat Houston out one year.
2011 in the semifinals in Greenville. ECU won the title under Paisley.
And they got there and had a number of regional bids. So this is a team that has history in competing and being champions. And sure, maybe they're not exactly where they want to be right now, but definitely not a team to overlook.
Ground out by Enai to first, as now they have runners at second and third with Burroughs at the plate. As you see now a visit here, as the visit for Savannah Hebner. Megan Gibson Lofton, an All-American player herself and pitcher at Texas A&M, the pitching coach at UH. But you mentioned ECU. Paisley was a 3-time Conference USA Pitcher of the Year as well during her time from 2008 to 2011. They were a perennial NCAA tournament team. Kelly Harold among them. So the Pirates, you're right. And that's part of, again, why this league, who's had an amazing year, the 4th strongest conference in the country, and the future is bright because you've got ECU and Erin Pepin. I've talked to some people at East Carolina. They feel that she's got a little Tony Paisley in her, and that's the ultimate compliment in ECU as Burroughs at the plate takes a strike. And so now you got a big sequence here with Burroughs, who has 13 home runs on the season. At the plate with runners at second and third and 2 outs here in the top of the 5th. Hebner on the 0-1. Goes off speed and Burroughs fouls it off. And with McClellan on deck, some people might wonder, well, why not pitch around Burroughs and maybe Walker with the open base at first? But McClellan's just as good, so you might as well just go after Burroughs, right?
Well, exactly. And, too, we talked a little bit about it in our previous game, Eric. Softball is a great game because you have so many indicators through numbers and through statistics. And Burroughs there
gets the swings and misses.
There she is.
As the drop ball by Hebner to get out of that jam. We are through 4.5. Houston still leads 3-1 here on the America Digital Network.
There are other people just like you. Driven, determined. Those who use passion to spark creation. Others who are ready to unite and discover together. It all starts with you. Continues with us, the University of South Florida.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose, to shock the world.
We're having a good time here in Tampa, Florida, the University of South Florida campus. We're in the bottom of the 5th. Houston with a 3-1 lead over the East Carolina Pirates in this matchup of a 2-7. Eric Lopez alongside Sydney Gerbrack. Haley Alton will be joining us for the post game. And it'll be for the Cougars. Aspen Howie will get a chance to hit here, Sydney, to start the Cougar 5th inning. After scoring 3 runs in the 4th inning, you got Aspen Howie, the youngster, will get a chance to hit here in this situation. So Coach Vesley calling her number.
Yep, and here's the thing with Aspen Howie. Recognized in the all-rookie team for this conference for the 2018 season. Not getting the start this game, but she's been another one of those players that has shown Houston's depth of bench. And she's been able to come in and be really critical in some of their wins and producing offensively for the Cougars. Haven't seen a whole lot of her defensively. She will most likely take that shortstop spot once Mariah Garcia has graduated. But in terms of her offense, she has had a good freshman campaign thus far.
She's pinch hitting for the catcher, Brooke Vanoy, in the 8th spot. If you're new to the sport of college softball, you can re-enter the game once as a player, and I would expect Vanoy will re-enter the game in the top of the 6th. I think Coach Vesley obviously wants to get Howie an at-bat here, and she pops it up right field. It'll be the second baseman making the catch there, Zimba, for the first out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. That'll bring up the number 9 hitter for the Cougars, Maya Thomas, a .327 hitter this season for the junior, will step in.
And not an impressive showing there from Howie, considering she has been able to come in multiple pinch hit instances and get the rally started, and that no doubt is what Vesley needed her to do in that moment. But Maya Thomas, just as good at that role. She's able to square that ball up.
And that's a single. It will drop in for a 1-out single for Maya Thomas. They were playing in, and so Thomas is like, fine, I'll just go ahead and hit away. And she drops a single here for the Cougars in the bottom of the 5th.
And that's what's great about Maya Thomas is that she is a triple threat. She can hit, she can bunt, she can slap, and has gotten a lot more comfortable swinging away this year than we've seen in previous years. And has not necessarily had the same numbers put up because she isn't bunting as much as she has been in her sophomore campaign, but still finding success and honing in on some of those other skills.
Ariel James at the plate. She's 0 for 2 today. You got Thomas, 3 for 5 this year in steals. Houston doesn't run as much. They really haven't run much since Katie St. Pierre graduated, who's a great leadoff hitter, a great defensive glove at center field, could steal some bases. That hasn't really been a part of the Houston offense this year, even though Thomas is certainly capable with her wheels to steal a base.
That's true, and I would agree with you that there has been a little bit of a movement away from speed and more of a focus on power and those numbers. I know with Ariel James, what is great about her is that of the hitting philosophy that Houston teaches, right? So shortening the distance from where your bat starts to contact, similar to what Oklahoma does, taught by Jessica Schultz. And Kristen Vesley, Ariel James does it the best. And that's why she's such a great leadoff hitter, because she's able to get looks at pitches and put the ball in play
just like
in key situations.
Just like that, as she drops that ball into right field, and Ariel James gets on with a single, and all of a sudden Houston threatening with back-to-back singles here in the bottom of the 5th. Here's your perfect example right here.
Able to take an outside pitch and drive it in between second base and the second baseman. Not much for Zimba to be able to do there. She makes a good diving effort.
That'll bring up Crumpton to the plate. There is action in the Pirate bullpen right now. It looks like Sanford. Yep, Sanford, their other freshman pitcher, is warming up for the Pirates as Crumpton swings at the first pitch and fouls it off down the right side. So a very important sequence here is Whitney Sanford, the freshman out of Sanford, North Carolina, is warming up in the bullpen. Her and Pepping, that's kind of the future of this Pirate pitching staff. They're both freshmen. And, of course, last year, East Carolina didn't have the pitching depth. They really depended heavily on Lydia Ritchie, who had a very illustrious career, threw a lot of innings, got a lot of wins for them, got a conference tournament win last year against UCF in the opening round. So this year they have more depth there. Is a liner to first, caught by Barrows, who touched the bag at first to end the inning on a double play.
Unlucky there for Kaylin Crumpton, but a great piece of defensive work from Burrows.
And it gets us to the top of the 6th with their score, Houston 3 and East Carolina 1. You're watching the American Softball Championships here on the American Digital Network.
When learning creates leaders, ideas are ignited, focus gets sharper, and service connects generations. We commit our expertise to heal, to discover, and to drive our region forward to a brighter tomorrow. East Carolina University. Tomorrow starts here.
Welcome back here to day one of the American Softball Championships here on the American Digital Network. Eric Lopez alongside Sydney Gerbrak. Of course, you can follow American Conference Softball on Twitter at American_SBall. And, of course, you can like us in the American Conference on Facebook. And, of course, on the American.org for all the latest news around the American Conference and all sports. And we'll have in-game highlights and coverage of this week in Tampa, the number 4 conference in college softball here in Tampa, Florida this week. And then at the end of the month, they'll be in Clearwater for the baseball tournament championships in Clearwater. That baseball, the number 3 strongest conference in college baseball, where Houston is currently in first place in the American Conference in baseball. So what is spring right now? Busy time in the American Conference. You got the rowing championships to get underway tomorrow. UCF, the defending champions in rowing. And you got the track and field championships starting tomorrow. Houston, always a powerhouse in track and field. So busy time in the league here in the American Conference. And, of course, we got the softball championships here day one. We got 2 more games later today. UCF will take on Memphis, 4 o'clock Eastern. The 4 seed, the Knights, coming up against the 5 seed, the Memphis Tigers. And then the 1 seed, the defending regular season champions, the USF Bulls. The host team will take on the 8 seed, the UConn Huskies. We'll have it all for you here on the American Digital Network. Tate McClellan swings at the first pitch, and the count is 0-1 against the co-pitcher of the year, Savannah Hebner, has a 3-1 lead to work with as the 0-1 gets in there for a strike. And what's been your thoughts of Savannah here through the first 5 innings?
You know, she's thrown a good game so far. The biggest adjustment I see for her is once she saw that she was not getting the swing and misses or the miss hits on the outside pitches that she was throwing, there was a moment that she needed to reevaluate the height of those pitches. We talked about where they were and making sure that they are on, instead of being belt high, they're knee high.
And she gets McClellan to strike out for the first out here in the top of the 6th. Big strikeout to get the leading hitter on the Pirates in McClellan, their big power bat with 275 and 10 homers. Now they'll face the senior Mike Check, who was 0 for 2 with a strikeout today against Hebner. First pitch. Hebner swings and gets a piece of it. The winner of this game will advance into the American Conference semifinals tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern. They would take on the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, who earlier today defeated Wichita State 3-1. Julia Hollingsworth with a home run and a triple, had 3 RBIs in the game. Emily Watson with 13 strikeouts in the victory. If you're wondering, Houston took 2 out of 3 from Tulsa earlier this year in Houston. Tulsa swept East Carolina in Tulsa in the regular season. If you're looking ahead, possible matchups. But as the 1-1, Mike Check. I've always asked coaches this over the years, and they really don't care who wins the other. People think, oh, well, do you prefer to play this team or that? They're just worried about their own team and how they're playing. They don't really worry about who they're going to possibly play.
Well, and I think that's a great strategy, right? What you can control as a coach and as a player is what you're doing, right? And the things that are going on around you. And it can be super easy to get caught up in everything that's going on externally. But if you are focused on the external and you're blind to any solutions or problems that you need to find internally, you're not going to be a successful program. And I think that's part of the reason why coaches are focusing on controlling what they can control.
Weingart's at the plate, takes a strike. Of course, if Houston were to hold on and win here, it would set up Houston and Tulsa, a rematch of the American Conference Championship game last year, and a potential matchup between Emily Watson and Savannah Hebner as Weingart's grounds it foul down to first base. And you would have a potential of the pitcher of the year this year in Hebner, who was the co-pitcher of the year against last year's pitcher of the year winner in Emily Watson. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but that's some of the storylines that could develop.
Oh, yeah.
And for Tulsa, a chance to improve their resume in the NCAA tournament and trying to defend their title. Houston trying to avenge the loss from last year. As Weingart's, though, and the Pirates trying to do something about that as fouls it off. In the count, if you look at the history of the American Conference Pitcher of the Years, you had Sarah Nevins, who pitched on the U.S. national team, was a pitcher for USF, won the Pitcher of the Year in 2014. Shelby Turnier of UCF won it in 2015. Erica Nunn of USF in 2016. Watson last year, and then this year now with Hebner and Korick. As the 0-2 is a high chopper to second. Tough play for James. Will side throw to first, and safe is the call. And Weingarts gets on with 2 outs here in the 6th.
I appreciate that gamesmanship from Weingarts, though, because she has a great at-bat. She's able to foul it off on both sides, wherever the ball is pitched, and she runs across first base and gestures that she's safe. I like the fact that she's trying to sell it there, and it goes in her favor because that play was really close.
Carly Smith, the senior now at the plate. Right-handed hitter with a runner at first and 2 outs. And Smith reaches for it and drops a base hit into center field. As all of a sudden, the Pirates with a little bit of a rally going as Barker throws the ball in, and East Carolina trying to get a 2-out rally going here.
Taking a look at that last pitch, and it's an outside pitch, but Smith able to get enough of her barrel on, enough of the meat of the barrel, rather, to poke it into the grass.
And it keeps the inning going with Kendra Zimba, the number 8 hitter, stepping in, left-handed hitter against Hebner. And a swing and a miss. And if the Pirates were to get one more base runner on, that would guarantee that Meredith Burrows would at least get one more at bat before this game ends. And that's significant when you have a talent like Burrows. Mm-hmm. If you're Savannah Hebner in Houston, you probably want to avoid that. 0-1 the count. And that's hit to the right side. Montgomery will touch the bag at first to end the Pirate threat. So no runs, 2 hits, no errors, 2 left on. We're through 5 1/2 here in Tampa with the score. Houston leading 3-1 here on the American Digital Network.
In a city known for doing things our way, there's a university that's driven to do the same, to blur the outdated line between academic pursuits and active ones. Not just to learn, but to experience, to create, solve, build, to explore and express, to lead.
Power
Because an
comes in
education
all forms.
isn't something you get.
Power is a big tackle,
It's
a
something
big
you
save,
A clutch hit.
and a game-winning shot.
Power is also standing up for what is right.
Power is respecting an opponent, officials, student athletes, coaches, and team representatives.
Power is not tolerating racial or ethnic comments.
Profanities or other improper actions.
while at the game.
The American.
Power.
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 Power for life.
This is a classroom.
This is a lab.
This is a study break.
This is family.
This is home.
This is Yukon.
Bottom of the 6th here in Tampa, Florida, with the score 3-1 in favor of Houston. Savannah Hebner will lead it off for the Cougars. Eric Lopez alongside Sydney Gerbach. Haley Alton with us as well. She's running around. We'll be ready for the post-game interviews with the winning team. Here in the second quarterfinal game. We have 2 more later today. As Hebner swings at the first pitch, hits one in the right field. That will be foul. Foul ball. And the count is 0-1 to Hebner. Will be followed by Sarah Queen. And then, of course, Tiara Williams, the difference maker, who hit the 3-run homer in the bottom of the 4th to give Houston this 3-1 lead. That's where we stand right now here in the bottom of the 6th. Again, the winner will advance to the semifinals, where they will take on Tulsa. 2 o'clock tomorrow. We'll have it for you on the American Digital Network. Hebner swings, hits a high fly ball. That's deep to left at the track, and it's off the glove. And Hebner will get to second base, just missing the home run, but nonetheless, Hebner starts the Cougars off, getting on base here to start the 6th inning. That ball was hit deep there, Sydney, and that was a tough play for Naren near the warning track there at 210 to left center.
Well, and Hebner gets every little bit of that ball. The biggest difference, I would say now in comparison to maybe earlier this game or even earlier this morning, the it's a little bit more humid out there. So there's more air for the ball to have to travel through. Great for pitchers in terms of their movement, not great in terms of velocity and the velocity of balls off of the bat. So, just not enough maybe behind it there from Savannah Huebner. Still a great piece of hitting, still now in scoring position with no outs on the board. So she's put herself in a good position here to put more runs up and give herself more of a cushion.
They've, I think, have scored it officially an error on Naren for not coming up with that ball.
Have they really?
On the glove. I'm just reading the scoreboard.
That's a tough play. So I mean, I don't know if she should have caught that necessarily.
Queen. Well, this one is caught as Enai, the shortstop, comes in foul territory to make the catch for the first out here in the 6th inning. And that's a big out, and that'll bring up Williams to the plate. Tierra Williams will hit the 3-run homer in the bottom of the 4th. Yeah, I was kind of hesitant on that because that ball was deep. It's 210 to left. I mean, I'm not sure if she doesn't get a glove on that. I'm not sure that ball is gone. I mean, that might have been gone if she doesn't come up with at least get a knockdown on the glove there. It's hard to tell.
That's a really good read by Naren. Like, outstanding read. The fact that she got there, she got behind the ball. And, now that I'm talking it through, it probably is an error because she did get to the spot the ball was. She was behind it. I think she just jumped the gun and kind of swatted at it because she wasn't maybe sure quite where it was. Might have lost it in the sun or something got bright.
That's playing in a new field. Playing in a field you haven't played for. That East Carolina did not play here. They have practice here, obviously, over the last day or two, but they haven't played here in a game. And again, it's 210 to left center. It's very different than maybe in other stadiums where it's 200 consistent. So Tierra Williams takes a ball. We're going to look at it again here. Sydney, what do you see what we think here?
Yeah, so she's behind that. It looks like she just misses it. And there's a number of reasons why that could have happened, but she just,
I tend to agree with the air call, though, seen on that replay, because that ball was in play, and Williams pops it up. Second base towards right field. The catch is made by Zimba for the second out of the inning. I agree with that play, because she had room to make the catch. In fact, in a way, because you talked about it, I agree with you, she made a great read on that ball, and that's why she got the error. So,
and we're going to look at it one more time. All right, so she... You know what? It looks like
it just hit her off her glove. She's got to catch that.
Off her glove, and she's so close to the fence. There's a number of reasons why it could have happened, but sun's probably not a factor. Might have just been that she was really close to the fence and wasn't sure if she was going to hit it. That's why it's so important as an outfielder to be practiced in taking your eye off the ball and knowing being able to look away, look at the fence, know where the warning track is, and then also know where your teammates are and make sure that your teammates are communicating.
Sarah Barker at the plate. The runner at second, 2 outs with an 0-1 count to Barker. Here in the bottom of the 6th, Houston looking to extend their lead as Barker takes low for a ball. So the count is 1-1. So we agree with the air call, the scoring play there. After all, see? That's the beauty. See, how about our great crew at the Digital Network with the replay? Yeah.
Thank you.
See? Making us, second guess yourself a little bit there. 1-1 the count as Barker takes a strike. As you see, of course, this is the second of 4 games. The third game coming up at 4 o'clock. UCF will take on Memphis. In fact, UCF's already hanging out by that left field. So they're going to get ready to get warmed up to play in about less than 2 hours when they'll take on Memphis in the 4 versus 5 game at 4 o'clock. Barker takes low for a ball. 2-2 the count with Huebner at second base. Staying in, as we talked about earlier in this game, in other situations, coaches would take out the pitcher for a pinch runner to get her some rest to get ready to start the 7th, but Huebner likes to be right in the middle of the action. And Barker grounds it to second. Zimba throws to first to end the inning. So no runs, no hits, an error, 1 left on. We're through 6 here in Tampa. Houston leads 3-1.
When learning creates leaders, ideas are ignited, focus gets sharper, and service connects generations. We commit our expertise to heal, to discover, and to drive our region forward to a brighter tomorrow. East Carolina University. Tomorrow starts here.
Minnesota.
Welcome back. Top of the 7th here in Tampa, Florida at the USF Softball Stadium. Savannah Hebner and the Cougars 3 outs away from advancing to the semifinal. She's got to go through this Pirate lineup one more time. It'll start off with Olivia Nairn, followed by Tyler King and Ashley Enai, 9-1-2. And if anybody reaches, Meredith Burrows would come to the plate as the tying run. She has 13 homers on the year, so that is significant. Nairn, first pitch, takes low, ball 1. And as a hitter, you have to be aware of that, right? If you're Nairn King, you know that, hey, if I can get on base, I got a chance to have my best player come to the plate here to get us back in this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you want to make sure that if you're at the bottom of the lineup that you're on base for them to hit you in. Regardless of where you're at in the lineup, there is always an opportunity to change the game with one swing. And I think that if you're in the bottom of the lineup, you have an opportunity to be on base and be the difference maker, be the first, second, third run that comes around that can make the difference in a win or a loss in a ball game. You have to take pride in that. Take pride in what your role is on any given day.
The count is 1-2. As Hebner has a word with her catcher, Vanoy, who did, of course, the veteran catcher. Olivia Nairn, the sophomore, trying to start it up here for the Pirates. Here in the 6th. As Hebner on the 1-2. Line foul. Foul ball there. See, the Memphis Tigers are also here. They're hanging out. A couple of their players are in the stands by third base. UCF is in the batting cage right by left center. The 1-2. Low, ball 2. That'll be our next game. That's at 4 o'clock Eastern. UCF, the 4 seed, against the Memphis Tigers, the 5 seed. And that'll be followed by USF, the number 1 seed, the regular season champions, against the UConn Huskies, the 8 seed. That's at 6:30. The 2-2 pitch by Hebner. And Nairn takes low, and a good at-bat here for Nairn, making Hebner work, trying to get on to start the Pirates' 7th inning. Three balls, 2 strikes the count as Hebner delivers. Nairn slaps it. Queen at third will throw to first. Safe is the call, and Nairn gets on. Boy, she earned that at-bat, working the count and then slapping the ball. And even though Queen made a nice play, Nairn was able to beat it out, and the Pirates get the leadoff runner on.
Again, a beautiful at-bat there from Nairn, and Sarah Queen takes one too many steps before getting rid of the ball. It looked like she might have needed to move her feet just a little bit faster and release the ball a little bit sooner, but you just have to tip your hat to Nairn there.
Tyler King now at the plate and swings. And I know you've been impressed with King today. You've talked about her and how she's swinging the bat. You're very impressed what you've seen from her today.
Well, what I'm seeing, especially in the way that she swings the bat, is she has really good barrel control. And I see her making adjustments, and when she feels like she loses that control, I can see her making adjustments either on the next when she steps out of the box and in the next swing. Most of the time her barrel heads down, which is interesting because, I'm coming from the filter of a right-handed hitter where the head of your bat needs to be up at all times so that you can drive the ball down, split it in half, right, to create that backspin. Singles turn into doubles, doubles turn into home runs. But obviously on the left side with a slapper, they're trying to drive the ball down and deaden it rather than make it take off and skip. So that's one of the things I'm really admiring that Smith does well that King does well, because she is a player that is coming in and she is dedicated to her craft in a way that she knows is going to make her successful.
Here's a grounder to the third. Queen's going to go to second. They'll get the force out in Nairn. And so King will reach on the fielder's choice as she grounds out. That's a big out for Houston to get the first out. King had 2 hits prior to that at bat. Is now at first base with 1 out.
Now back for ECU.
And just looks like she might have gotten a little bit of a late read. I thought that in that situation they might have sent her to steal. I mean, I know that there's a number of speedy players on this ECU squad, but we don't see very many stolen base attempts.
They tend to play for the big inning. They tend to play for the big inning with the big bats coming up. As Enai at the plate. Runner at first and 1 out, but more importantly, Burrows is on deck.
Well, actually, I take that back because Nairn.
Here's a grounder to short. They throw to second for 1, to throw to first. In time, double play. Game over. And the Houston Cougars advance to the semifinals by a final score of 3-1 as they ended on a 6-4-3 double play to end into the semis, and they beat the Pirates, and they now have a showdown with the Tulsa Golden Hurricane tomorrow at 2 o'clock for the semifinals. Let's look at this play one more time, Cindy. What a way to end it on a double play.
And bang, bang there. Mariah Garcia to Ariel James to Kelly Montgomery. And doing what Houston has been known to do in the past. Always had a very large focus on double plays. Does not surprise me that's how they end this game.
We'll be back to wrap this up with some post-game interviews as the Cougars advance to the semifinals. They win it 3-1 here on the American Digital Network.
When learning creates leaders, ideas are ignited, focus gets sharper, and service connects generations. We commit our expertise to heal, to discover, and to drive our region forward to a brighter tomorrow. East Carolina University. Tomorrow starts here.
Welcome back. The Houston Cougars advance to the semifinals with a 3-1 win over the Pirates. And joining Haley out is the very happy head coach, Kristen Vesley. Take it away, Haley.
I'm now joined by Houston head coach Kristen Vesley. Coach, congratulations on this win here in the quarterfinals. Your freshman, Tiara Williams, was able to come up with a 3-run shot in the fourth. That was the difference in today's game. Why is she able to step up in high-pressure situations?
Oh, she's been clutch lately. She is now, if I had to guess, 6 for 9 with 3 home runs in the last 9 at-bats, which is huge.
Your pitcher, Savannah Hebner, only allowed 1 run today. Why has she been able to be such a consistent force in your lineup all season long?
She has a lot of different pitches. She could throw hard. She could throw. Today she backed off a little bit, did a little bit more off-speed drop. She has the ability to pound the zone, and she's really intelligent with her pitches.
You meet Tulsa in tomorrow's semifinal. You took 2 of 3 from them earlier this season. What will be the difference in tomorrow's game?
Pitching. It comes down to pitching and hitting.
All right, thanks a lot. Good luck tomorrow, Coach.
Thanks, Haley. And pitching, she's right. She knows she's got to deal with Emily Watson tomorrow, and that's showdown we expect, Hebner and Watson. But today, Houston had a battle from their rivals in the Pirates, Sydney, but they found a way to win, and that's been their story this year. They've learned how to win, and they get some big plays, although the Pirates were ready to play.
That's true, and not the most beautiful execution by Houston, but they were clutch in the right moments. They may have been out-hit by ECU, but they were able to cut the momentum by playing good defense, having consistent pitching, just like Coach Vesley said. Savannah Hebner is incredibly intelligent with her pitches, where she places them. They know that they're in good hands when she is in the circle, and then Tiara Williams able to come up big with that 3-run shot. Again, not much else that you can say. Coming up clutch in the right situations is what makes the difference.
And Houston picks up a 3-1 win to advance to the semis against Tulsa. Join us at 4 o'clock as it'll be the third game of 4 today as the UCF Knights, the 4-seed, take on the Memphis Tigers, the 5-seed. Will be there. For Sydney Gerbach and Haley Outen and our great crew, the American Digital Network, I'm Eric Lopez saying so long from Tampa as you've been watching the coverage of the American Softball Championships here on the American Digital Network.